This is second take. I forgot what we was talking about. Don't say second take. So can we keep going or you gonna say it again? So can we this is a part of the podcast though, right? It gotta be a part. Come on, bro. You don't take anything else out. I'm having a natural conversation. I don't want you to take this out of the podcast. This guy love insulating himself, but I'm glad to be back here, man. How you doing, El?
I'm good.
How AJ? How everybody doing?
AJ is good. AJ is running my life, the long and short of it.
100%.
Yep. KJ is running my pockets.
100%.
Yep. And Aaron working so I can run his pockets.
Look at that. Yeah, I know.
No, I'm just playing.
You're not playing.
I don't run his pockets.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you work on them a little bit, slowly but surely. But that's what we're here to provide. I think that's a man's ultimate, goal is to provide for his family, holistically. Where a hedge of protection is around the family, and I think I think men have never lost that lust for that. They never lost that, and I think it's in a lot of men. I think sometimes when it breaks down, the behaviors that is displayed is opposite of what they actually really feel and what they want to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes we don't show the behavior of what we're really feeling. We're acted out in a way because sometimes, I think it's important to say that men don't always have the language. I know for me as a man, when I was married, I didn't have the language because where would I get the language from? Mm-hmm. When I learned, I had to start at my ABCs. Men, we're in marriages and relationships, and nobody ever even taught us our ABCs of marriage, the basic fundamentals of marriage. In fact, Ebony, what does chivalry even look like anymore? And what we're kind of talking about and going into what I'm saying is, how does marriage look to the millennials now? The millennials, and below us is still getting married, but we are sort of the example now. Mm-hmm. I might be the wrong example, and you could be the right example. but the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, Ebony, is because I don't know. A lot of us was fatherless, men and women. A lot of us had daddy issues, 80s, crack baby. Things happened and brewed over the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So now we're here, and we are the leader in the clubhouse. Now we set the framework for what our kids are going to look like, because that's the basis of this conversation. Yeah. Primary reason, the example that we're going to leave. And I want to have an honest conversation about what does marriage in the millennial look like now? Like, how do we... Because I know for me, like I was just talking about, I didn't have the language. I didn't have a skill set in marriage. It wasn't about me doing anything right or wrong. I didn't have the skills that to meet up to the standard of what a woman requires now. Mm-hmm. I wasn't taught that. I didn't go to a school of, hey, husbandhood. Nobody gave me no manual. It was just kind of like you feel something, you fall in love. This was supposed to be. And I think we see those type of things on TV, and we kind of get a false representation of what marriage really looks like. But now, even apart from our family and our predecessors who came before us, I was telling you the other day, I said, ain't no way people will ever, the woman today will not put up with what your mama and my mama put up with. Mm-hmm. It's a fact. Mm-hmm. It's just the reality of where we are. Yeah. And the conversation is pervasive online. And for a long time, I probably ran from the conversation because I was in the heat of it. And maybe my feelings were maybe not. Maybe my bias was bigger than my objectivity. Mm-hmm. And I recognize that. So that's why I kind of stayed far away from the conversation. So, but now we're here. And I think the conversation is so pervasive, to not have the conversation is irresponsible in my estimation, especially if we have a perspective, especially if we have sometimes a God-centered perspective, an experienced perspective, even if an emotionally intelligent perspective. So I think we can have the combination with all that and have a conversation that is productive, because we are aliens to each other. It's an oversimplification just to say black men and black women don't get along. It is unbelievably more complex than that. We're beings that are constantly evolving every day. So with the evolution in life, naturally comes the evolution of the family. We're also in the blended generation. That's another sidebar. We're also in the how do you deal in co-parenting generation. That is norm right now, Ebony. So I ask you this. You being married now, you a wife, and you a modern woman. Let's lay the foundation. You are a leader in corporate America. You lead men, you lead women. You are from what many would call you, a strong Black woman. So you represent what is being held as the battle between Black man and Black woman. You are the sort of the modern woman, and you're married though. So you're sort of living this, and we're talking about marriage. So we're not going to talk about the single stuff. We're going to talk about marriage. Right. So you're married. You're in it. And you're this woman. Tell me about the challenges of now being a married woman in this society with the stereotypes, with your own ambition for life apart from a man. Because that's the real crux. Your role as a woman has now changed. It is now evolved to what men in my generation and the older was taught that a woman was. And now that's the fight. You're different now. Whatever you want to say, traditional, non-traditional, go back to this. We're not talking about or arguing about what should be. We're talking about what is and what's going forward. So what is your perspective on being a modern woman, being a married woman, the challenges honest challenges that you see that prevents you being a woman? What are the challenges that you see who you are prevents that from your marriage from flourishing? Or what challenges do you see? That's the question I'm asking, I guess.
So I'll preface this by saying that once upon a time, we could say there was a traditional marriage, and we could look at a outline or a blueprint of what marriage looks like. That doesn't exist. And I think anytime we enter into marriage seeking that blueprint, we set ourselves up for failure.
That's good.
You have to go into marriage with the understanding of, first of all, you have to go into marriage understanding that we get married at a different time in our lives.
We do.
Our parents and previous generations, they got married teenage years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Early 20s. And so they were still developing into who they were as individuals. That wasn't even solidified who they were as individuals.
That's a fact.
And then they meld into the two become one, and they grow up together.
Yes.
Now we live in a generation in a time where we get married in our 30s.
Absolutely.
I'm already an established identity with likes, dislikes, traumas, battles that I'm going through. And now the goal is to become one with someone who else has their own traumas and vantage point of life. And so I would say the biggest challenge for me, because this is my recipe, this is how I like to cook my chicken. The biggest challenge for me is that we're just so different.
We are.
And what has created those differences is no right or wrong, but how Aaron was raised, what he experienced in his household coming up, and then when he entered into adulthood, what was relevant and important to him and the traumas that he went through. And the same thing for me. You know, how I grew up and what I see is important and what I see is relevant. And now we got to try to mend all those things.
That's a lot.
It's a constant.
It is.
And so what I had to learn, I had to understand. I thought I knew what compromise was. I thought compromise was like either we're going to give in to your way or we're going to give in to my way.
Yeah.
I learned that compromise is when neither of us completely gets our way.
That is good. That's good.
We both have to sacrifice our idea of what we wanted and have a new.
That's good.
A new position or a new way about going, to do things. That's what true compromise is.
And sacrifice, I wrote this down today, is risking everything with no guarantee.
Absolutely.
That's what
And
marriage is too.
That's absolutely what marriage is.
Risking everything with no guarantee. That's what sacrifice is. I was floored. And that's what love is too.
Absolutely, that's what love is.
That I'm talking about, because you put yourself on a ledge. But you know, as scary as love is, it is the thing that saved me. When I was going through my situation, I'm still, going through my situation. Love was the most powerful thing, because it wasn't how much I could give, it was how much I could take. And every time something was giving me hell, love was there. But every time I expressed how I really, that's what love is. Love is being honest. See, that's the action in love. It's being honest. It's loving yourself enough to say, let me be honest with myself. That's love. And then love protects you because of your honesty. But when you're lying to yourself, when you're not telling the truth, you can even be sincere in your disingenuous nature. You can be sincere. You can just try to protect yourself from the inevitability of pain, the inevitability of you not wanting to be hurt. I didn't want to let go. But let go was there, bro. Let go was at the door and said, hey, come on. Let go was at the door. Boy, I didn't want to see it. And it's just the reality of life. So, as a woman, with the conversation online, we talk about it on the chat a lot too, man, and I'm watching the evolution. I have 4 girls, so I'm abreast to it. I got 4 of them, Evan, you know it. I'm abreast. And I need it. I've just, Evan, you side note, I just dove right into it. You've seen me do it. I've dove right into parenthood, because that is a part of marriage too. And I think that's one of the parts that we have to include in when we talk about marriage and we talk about these conversations, because you have to still, if you have a divorce, separation, you have a baby with somebody, you're no longer together, then you still got to deal with that person, Ebony. And that becomes now another challenge, because now parenthood, co-parenthood, or whatever you want to call it, becomes a part of the marriage. And I think what we've done was we oversimplified what marriage is. Marriage is not just a romantic gesture between said woman and said man. No, it is a conglomerate of kids, adults, in-laws, all of these different moving business, everything encompasses that. Your spiritual nature is rooted from there. You're learning a person. And again, as you stated earlier, we're just so different now. We've grown up. I got married in my 30s. You got married in your 30s. I was already completely established with my life. My ways were already set. I can see that now. My way, I was so unconscionable about my ways. I wasn't realizing it, because I got out of college when I've been working ever since. I was working 13 years. I had a routine. I was doing it all the time. It worked for me. So now when somebody comes in, we're in a blended generation, right, Ebony? Now, how the skill set to blend, and I didn't have it. Again, like I say, I didn't have a handbook for a blended situation. I just knew what was in front of me. And you was talking about earlier the difference between men and women. I'm task oriented. Men are still that. Go straight ahead. We expect our woman to be at home, blase, get this done, and that's it. But that's not the reality anymore, is it, Ebony?
It's not reality.
It just doesn't, it's not there. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. I don't know how we merge. I think that's where I went. Things kind of went south for me, is I just didn't understand the merger, because I didn't understand a woman. I didn't have the intelligence. There is a skill set. It is not feelings. I expect a woman to be in her feelings. You should expect me not to. What I mean by that, we both can't be all over the place. And women are not all over the place, but that's where I think a woman genius is in her feeling her emotions, all of them. Because normally she always comes to the conclusion that she, normally your woman, right? Because she goes through all the possibilities, the emotions, but the problem now is you don't need the same covering that you needed prior to now. That, I think, is the ultimate omninous issue that we have right now, Ebony, is now let's have that conversation. We don't know as men how to now get through to that now. We don't know how to be the head of, we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what is that. It only looked like brute force before. Some men actually physically did it. Some men use words to do it. So we don't. So what we're asking is, how do we come to you? How do we lead? If you had your ideal leadership of a man, and I know Aaron is doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, just for the sake of the conversation. What do you look for in your own husband? Where you guiding them to, like you said, because you always got a plan, and women always got a plan. But go ahead.
So first and foremost, I would desire, and I do desire, a husband who leads our household according to the vision he hears from God. I think that, and this is for me and my house, if you are leading me without God covering you, we driving down a dark road with no lights and no headlights. Like, where are we going? Like, that's how I, as a woman, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm in the passenger seat of a car. There's no street lights, and we driving down a dark country road.
Can I ask you one question? Can I interject? This is yours, but I just want to ask, what is, when a woman says, repeat what you just said.
The covering from God?
Yeah. What define that?
So,
in a real term of like a real life, can you define it for me?
Yes, I can. So, for me, the place that I've come to, when I desire outcome from my husband, because I'm human, my first process might be to, Aaron, can you do this? Like, can you do this different? But then at some point, because it don't work, I go to God about it. And often, very often, when I go to God about Aaron, God reflects back to me. And then I become accountable for my actions. So I have to do something different. So if I want Aaron to do something different, I got to move differently as his wife. Every single time I went to God about Aaron, God challenged me to work on me. And so if my husband is going to God about his household and about his family, what's God going to do? God going to challenge him to do something different.
Absolutely.
And so as God challenges him, it allows him to navigate our household, navigate our standing in this world according to God's will. Mm-hmm. And so that's literally what it would look like for me. I had a situation where I was saying, Aaron's not this enough, God. Like, I just really need you to make him this way. And God said, Are you that way? And I was like, oh, okay. I had to self-reflect because I really wasn't giving him what I was asking for. I had decided because I wasn't getting it from him, I was going to withhold it. And so in my withholding it, it still wasn't going to yield the results I wanted. That didn't work. And I wasn't withholding sex just so nobody don't have no.
Because that's what everybody mind went.
Yeah, that's what everybody mind went. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. But in any event, like I said, God challenged me, and I just want my husband to be led that same way.
Yeah, I mean it's just you're from Venus, I'm from Mars, and figuring out how to get on the same planet. I think that's the challenge with us in our being the reflection of this generation. That's going to be the challenge. For how do we get on the same page? Mm-hmm. How do we now model consistency in front of our children? Because consistency comes from your absolute belief within yourself, within the union or whatever you're doing. So how do you model that in front of our children? How do we do the right thing in front of them when the wrong thing is persistent everywhere around you, when you feel like doing the wrong thing? How do we now overcome? Because here's the responsibility now, too, for women. You've evolved, right? And we've said that. So now, how do we now match emotional intelligence? How do we now rationally start looking at things? How do we now come to take accountability for things now? Because that is a frustration of a lot of men. That is. I mean, I know we talk about it, and everybody you see it on videos, but it's more so. And I think sort of the underlaying of this is, okay, so you want me to. It's logic for y'all, but we call it emotion, but it is logic. How do you want me to submit to somebody that I make more money than? Come on, man. Money bring power. Money bring power. Money brings so you don't think it'll bring her power? So that I think that's where we miss she being logical. And I think what we're asking is, okay, we know that's logical, even though we'll call you emotional to block what you're really talking about. How do we compromise? Like you said, now, what is the compromise of accountability? Because we understand you guys are smart, you're sharp, you're there now. You're not Betty Sue's. That's just not the generation we're in anymore. We could just put that to bed. We're not going back there. It don't matter how many videos you do. It don't matter how many times you talk about it. Women are not going back to their age, right, wrong, or indifferent. No matter where you want to place them, they're just not going back. And frankly, I don't want that anyway, because I'm an evolved man. Yeah. I want a thinker with me. I want to have this type of conversation. I don't want to just say, hey, honey, how's your day? And go sit down and be a robot. I don't want a robot. I want resistance. Even though that I didn't get the result of the romantic I'm with you part of marriage, I got invaluable lessons about women, about the nature of a woman, about the nature of a man, about the nature of our relationship with each other. And I've came to a conclusion, and I'm seeing we need to continue to have these type of conversations about the marriage and the millennial, because we are setting the foundation for our children. Everything that goes on, how I handled myself during the divorce. Let's just talk how it was shaky. It was shaky in terms of how me still being a strong tower for my kids. I just want everybody to go away at one point. Yeah. What you talking about? Let's be honest. I wasn't sitting there like freaking Captain America every day. I was sick and tired. I was angry. I was fucking bitter. You know what I mean? I was upset. The only thing I could do is sit in the house sometimes. You know what I mean? Because I felt cheated. Yeah. And if I'm feeling honest, if I'm being really honest, my spirituality was in question. I questioned God a lot, and I still got a lot of questions about, come on, bruh. I talk like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, come on, like, what is this? Yeah. Just being bare bone honest. That's a part of the whole marriage, because marriage is all of it. God never, listen, people can sign a piece of paper, but marriage is forever. No matter how you look at it. If you have those kids, that's a union. The union is over, but the marriage is still existing in the eyes of God. He never turns his back. No matter, people can go this way, that way, and if you have kids in there, that it's still there. Yeah. So, it was nice where it was cold. It was cold, and I'm like, God, come on, what we gonna do? We got a problem, Houston. And I was talking, and I've been talking real like this with God. We got a problem. Like, this ain't joking. This ain't me. This ain't no Christianity stuff. This is God. Do you exist? Why am I in this position? What's going on? And I was upset. And I'm not saying I had the right, but I'm just telling you where I was. I felt like God heard my prayers. I felt like God, I said, you seen what I did. And I'm mad at you because I was upset I lost my marriage. And I said, I'm mad at you because she couldn't see what I did when she wasn't around. You seen it. My family had to give everybody the benefit of the doubt no matter what, but you seen me. And most importantly, you seen my heart. Mm-hmm. That's what broke my heart, because my heart was pure and sincere. My actions, again, I didn't have the skill. Skill you don't win. Listen, that's how life works, don't it? Mm-hmm. In real life, it works that way. But my heart was broke because I felt like God left me. I felt like he let me down. And I was salty as a mug. I was salty. I felt like there was no foundation at the church anymore, because every time I would look on my phone, it would just feel like the church was in shambles. It would feel like the thing I grew up in just became I can't even explain it. And it just arose my anger even more at God. And again, I'm not saying I had the right to. It's just what it was at the time, because I ain't see nothing but darkness. And and I wasn't gonna go out and act a fool on my family. I was just still trying to figure out how to be a father. How I'm gonna be a father to 4 girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
That what I'm like, how I'm gonna do this? It was sink or swim. It was sink or swim. You came to my door a few times.
I know.
Absolutely. It was shaky.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wasn't even talking to people. For what? Because I felt like I lost everything. But what I learned, and all of that might have been bad, but through those those treacherous moments and all of those nights, and there was long nights, I was picking up wisdom. Like somewhere over here, I was just getting it. It was just coming. It was just coming fast, like over and over again. And because my mind was so consumed with wanting my marriage, I didn't even see that God was there all along, dropping jewels in my life.
Right.
And I was understanding stuff and learning stuff, understanding him more. And that's when things started to turn for me. And I started to get up slowly and slowly and slowly. And that's when this started coming. And I started watching the conversation online. And at first, oh man, TikTok. Boy, when you going through it, TikTok will be your friend. TikTok the devil. Won't it? That algorithm gonna take you right to that woman ain't nothing. I was like, you right? Say it. I was telling that boy to say it. You right. And I became a cult follower. And I was listening, and I was going deep into these rabbit holes. Don't get on social media when you're going through a divorce. Get your behind off social media. You don't need to be anywhere where like that. So TikTok had me in a chokehold because it was feeding my bias.
And whenever I'm on TikTok and it feeds a perspective that I don't want to have, I hit not interested.
You got to.
because you bitter about something you're not bringing it into my house. You're not bringing it into my heart and mind. So I hit not interested.
Man, you got to.
Because it will play to the negative emotion that you have.
It does. And I think that is why this conversation is important to have and be responsible while having it, while also being authentic about where both the man and the woman is. Because if we don't have a correct conversation, that type of stuff is going to continue to persist in our society. We have the ability to change the conversation. This is us here now being change agents. I didn't get the result I wanted, but I'm going to make sure that you do. This is how you change culture. You don't change culture by I don't want to get on here and have a debate with you about how bad black woman is. My mama had me. I was born of a black woman. I got 4 black women. And
every man came from a black woman. And every woman has a part of a black man in her.
There you go.
Or, another race if, they mix. But anyway, there's no need to hate or have such strong disdain for people we have to coexist to create.
Yes, we do. And now I think this conversation is important, Ebony, about us. It's because now our discourse now is causing economic depravity. The median income in our community is, I think, about 34 to 35,000, but the marriage rate is also about 30%. And if you go to the highest, the Indian marriage rate is 94%, and their median income is 124,000. See the difference? Your income and your household is higher because you got 2 incomes together, and you're economically now multiplying week by week by week by week by week. You see how that works? So now I'm starting to, but because it didn't work in my favor, I'm still able to see like, oh, okay, I would have went that way this time. And that's where the bitterness, that's where, okay, I was real mad at God. But then I started, okay, all right, God, maybe it's me. All right, yeah, that is kind of me. Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of you in there.
Yeah, that me. Okay, well maybe I did that, but yeah, and then but God shows you yourself differently. It ain't just straight on. It's just you keep walking through life, and then that mirror gets clearer because you when you don't get your desire, your needs become giants, and then you realize that's all you needed was your needs, and they become your wants. They become your desires at that point. You don't have to want for anything. I shall not want. I shall not want. You don't have to want for anything. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, or begging bread. I don't know the other word.
And also
or begging for bread.
You said you question God, and I think going back to like what I said about there's no blueprint. Like sometimes we assign a blueprint to how you have a relationship with God.
Yes, that's good.
But if you look in the Bible, there's so many variations of instances how in the Old Testament God showed up, and variations of instances how Jesus showed up when he was healing. He healed one man one way, he healed another man another way. And so we think you can only go to God on your knees with your hands like this, your head bowed, and you say, "Dear Jesus, our Father." Like that's the only way you can go to God. Yeah. But God is so big. Like if you question him, He ain't mad about you questioning him because he has answers for you. He would rather come to you come to him questioning him than you not coming to him at all. Yeah. And I think that it's important that you said that because there are people who feel a way about life happening to them, whatever it is, and they questioning God too. Go to him. Tell him. Yeah,
I think, and that's the open honesty I had to do. I think that we over ritualize God. And we haven't. Listen, he's not going to communicate with us the same way he communicated with people that existed way before our time. We don't even know how that even happened. We don't even know how we see these movies and we think that's how it stopped us. I imagine how God exists is probably some way how I exist. So I was mad, I was upset, I was angry, but I was also, my heart was ready to be humble. I think that's the fight.
Your heart posture.
And I think that's what people, that's the fight. I think you can look on the outside sometimes and you can think that everything's okay. You can be like, what did I do this wrong? Did I do this right? And sometimes your heart's not in the right place. Your heart, you can feel like your heart is not in the wrong place, but being in the right place is important for God because you're here for purpose, not for your feelings. So if you place your heart, it's 9 times out of 10, it ain't what God wants your heart. And I think because, I think I did everything because I came off of being really successful, Ebony. Think about it.
Yeah, you did.
I'm the man. Listen, I was the man. Like, it was no question about it. There was none. And I think I didn't say I'm cocky by nature.
Yeah.
I am. That's just who I've been. No money. It don't matter who it is. I'm just like that. But I think arrogance is when you forget where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
It ain't an attitude. It's when you forget. And when you create things, you forget the Most High God. You forget that, oh, man, you dominating in a workplace, you think you've done it. Yeah. Oh, it was me. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't say it out loud. I kept saying it here. But the behavior was creeping out slowly. You couldn't see it. Again, you don't see evolution. When you didn't see that tree grow. It just, you looked up one day, it was there. I looked up one day and arrogance was in my heart. It was, I did this. It was, I will set myself above the Most High. I didn't say it out loud, but I was saying it in here. Because God can see that.
Yeah.
And it was tough. Because when that fall comes, when it comes, you don't see that coming either. You just wake up on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the reconstruction comes in. That's a part of marriage. That's what I mean. All of these things are what marriage is. Marriage is a deconstruction of who you thought you were to become who God needed you to be. God knew my strength for my family, and I can see it now. I'm not going to regurgitate it, but I can see why he's placed me where he is. I'm more athletic now. I can get more done now. Because, see, now he's brought back that same mindset, but with a more mature mind. Now I won't forget now. Oh no, because my normal day has become my great day, Ebony. And I think this is another thing I wanted to talk about. Being in love with your everyday routine. That is where I believe marriage, people get lost at. We get bored with the thing that you're supposed to make the most exciting. It's kind of like I said like this. Do you need a vacation from your life all the time? We dread our every day to go on a vacation. Man, when you wake up in the morning, being able to see AJ, being able to see your husband, kiss him goodbye, come home every day. And sometimes we're like, man, I want something different. Let's go do something different. But when you live in those moments and you don't make them fleeting, when you live in them, you can see the beauty in them. And I miss that. That's what I missed, is those small little moments that make the marriage, that creates the connection. So, don't forget that, man. So that those are the little things that you miss in marriage. Marriage is, like I said earlier, it's a complex thing. It's not the same. We're evolved beings now. Yeah. We can't do the same thing we used to do. Yeah. We can't communicate with each other the same way we used to communicate with each other. And the friction that we have is natural. Yeah. Whenever you're going through a birthing process, whenever like you're getting ready, it's new to us. Yeah. And that's why we got to give each other grace.
Absolutely. You 1,000% have to give each other grace. I mean, when I think about the most annoying thing about my husband, the thing I like the least, he's still my best friend.
Yeah, that's good.
And you really have to get to a place, and this is another conversation I had with God, where this thing that I don't like about him, if it never changes,
that's good.
Do I still want to be with him?
That's good. That's it.
I came to the conclusion that I did. But I had to settle with the fact that if it never changes,
that's it.
It had to be okay.
That's it right there, Ebony.
It had to be okay. And honestly, it is, because like I said, he's my best friend. We share 2 children who it is our everyday goal to pour into them, to see them successful, to drive success in their lives, not just by doing, but modeling.
Yes.
So, I just, whatever I have to say, I'm a complainer. I'm working on it. So whatever complaints whatever complaints I may have.
You ain't far in the process. I can tell you that right now. You at the beginning stages, 100%.
I'm like a quarter of the way through. But anyway, whatever complaints I have, they don't amount to the fact that it's him that I want to be with at the end of the day. And I think that that's the emotional intelligence you have to have when it comes to marriage. And you also have to recognize when you do something that I don't like, is it about you or is it a trigger from a previous experience?
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing we bring into marriage, but we don't take hold of the idea that it's not about the person in front of me. It's about something that I went through that happened way before they got here.
Absolutely.
And they doing something that looked like it.
100%.
Now they done punch you back.
Yeah.
But that's where the emotional intelligence come in.
Yeah.
And, you talk about your girls. I have 2 boys, and I want them to be men who go into relationships and marriage with a holistic idea of how provision looks.
Yes.
Provision is not just the dollars that you make, but provision is whatever your family needs to thrive. That's what provision is.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Do whatever needs to be done.
I think that's I think when you simplify it that way, that's what is the task at hand? Because when you create a family, the children are the now focus. The marriage is still the focus, but the children can't do for themselves. And what you're doing, you're creating a unit and creating a legacy. You're creating a legacy, and we're building something strong. And that's why even when the pivot happens for me on the other side, because there's a lot of people divorced, there's a lot of people separated, and there's a certain, people ain't no shame to it. It's just what it is. It's just life, and it happens. And it's going to be one of those things where it's not going to stop happening, because anytime you have cognitive dissonance, there is a boom. So before the thing gets right, it going through this fire and all of this. And so I'm a casualty of war. I'm a casualty of our inability to communicate collectively that trickled down through our trauma, through our fatherlessness, through our inability to see what is needed in partnership in a marriage. So we've we're here now.
Yeah.
We're here now. And that's why the conversation has to continue and persist in a responsible way, in my opinion. So this has been a beautiful conversation, man. Because I think I want to keep having it. I want to keep dealing with, the fact that we're in a blended situation, that we're in co-parenting right now. Like, it is tough right now to, I think I seen a meme one time, and it said, co-parenting with somebody you have to get over or you have to deal with. It's tough. When emotions are so high, emotions got to be high if you split. You know what I mean? So, and then that person has a perspective. You have a perspective. And everybody feel a certain type of way, and you're adjusting your life, and everybody's mad. No matter who made a decision, everybody's upset. Everybody feels shorted. That's another thing God had to show me. Just because people make a decision you don't make doesn't make them hurt any less, because separation is separation. When you pull the Band-Aid off, buddy, it hurt both ways. It does. And a lot of times you don't know what comes from all of that hurt. But even now, I think now men and women, we are emotionally intelligent enough to not cause harm. That should be something that we eliminate. Let's eliminate domestic violence, period, in the story. Both ways. Both ways. Slapping me, spitting on me, provoking me, that's domestic violence.
Absolutely.
If women need to stop that. Anything that should be under the realm. If somebody, it goes both. If I hit you, whatever I'm doing, if I'm controlling you, that's domestic violence. Let's just put an umbrella for men and women. But go ahead, what you was gonna say?
The spitting on that part threw me off, because I don't care who you are. You can be 85 years old. You spit on me, you're going to hit the floor. Lord, forgive me after.
Yeah. But just any, just hitting, even if it's just throwing stuff. And, I know we glorify that type of stuff, throwing grits on stuff. Tyler Perry ain't going to say no names. I was mad about that movie, Divorce in the Black.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I was mad about that movie. And I'm not going to get on here and talk about another black man. But I am going to say that we're not like that in real life. I was nothing like that man in that movie. I acted nothing like that. That's a misrepresentation of who we are. And that's an artistic creation. We have to hold our leaders accountable when you put out stuff like that doesn't represent us now. That was a broken part of us. People are recognizing their brokenness now. People actually go to therapy. I go to therapy. People actually are taking care of themselves. There are more people that are taking care of themselves than out here operating in their trauma. And even the people that are still operating their trauma, trying to get rid of it. They've recognized it. So we can't be represented. And marriage is still a sacred thing to me. Relationships are the lifeblood of how our community is going to economically thrive, socially thrive. Our kids have safer schools. We can get our kids that are lower economically out of these detestable environments, and that they don't get the proper care and love and respect that they need, or the proper conditions. So all of marriage and relationships and how we deal with each other going forward, maybe we can't save everybody, but how we deal now with each other will set the precedence for our kids coming up. Because we do need families. We may not have 13 kids and 14 kids, the family.
No, absolutely not.
That day's over with. We're not going to have that. But what we need, we can have militias of thriving families that produce, I don't care what their occupation is, people who understand business, emotionally smart, know how to choose a mate. I had no idea. I'm not saying my wife was right or wrong. I'm just saying I did not have the wherewithal, because I didn't even know what I wanted for myself.
And that's important. I think oftentimes we don't spend enough time with ourselves because we just have a longing for a counterpart,
Absolutely.
for a mate, which is natural.
Absolutely.
But in the times, in the generation that we live in, it's important to spend some time with yourself to know what you like, know what you don't like, and don't date at a deficit.
Yes, that's a fact.
If you got things to work on, don't be out here trying to enter into a relationship, because you'll be dating at a deficit when you want to be whole.
That's a fact.
And then you're dating at -50.
Yes.
So then here comes somebody who ain't whole themselves.
Oh.
And you're trying to use them to fill yourself up.
Oh.
So what you think you want ends up not really being what you want. And now you in love.
Absolutely.
So you're dealing with stuff that you wouldn't normally deal with because you were dating at a deficit.
That's a fact. Because relationships in its essence, how God designed it, it's not supposed to be hard. We've attached struggle so much to the relationships, and you got to go through. No, you really don't. Our parents are not our generation. We have more information. It was simple then. You're seeing the after effects of when women decided to not be that anymore. When they were that, things were pretty simple. There were no struggle when both parties accepted their position. Mm-hmm. That's what we're missing in the relationships now. Whatever the positions are now, how do we come to the table and have a truce and an acceptance about what the role is as a man and a woman is in a relationship? I can't no longer tell you, I can't look at you eye to eye knowing that you are knowing that you do what you do on a day-by-day basis and talk to you as if you don't understand the world. As if you don't contribute to the world, as if you don't pay taxes. That is, come on, man, that's human stuff right there. That's inalienable rights. That's your liberty to be a human being at that point. Come on now. So that's where we are. Because now, regardless of what the roles are in marriage, and it's not you become the head and now no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, how do we communicate with each other now? What happens? How do I look like the head? What does a helpmeet look like in a marriage? What do these things even look like in the millennial generation? We're resistant to a lot of things. We're rebels right now. We don't have a traditional foundation. We were fatherless, so we didn't get a lot of push over from, teachings and this is how you do things. This is how you do things. Because I didn't have a father. There's a lot of men who didn't have fathers. So how would you know these things? Right. So now we are setting the foundation. Somebody has to, because listen to the conversation online. It's ridiculous. It's gotten to the point where women are drastically disrespected. Men are belittled. So everybody is just wilding out right now. And I don't wonder if we're thinking about the children, because I think that's the children. And watching my kids, what type of man do I want my kids to have? I don't want them to have the man that I first was. I wouldn't want them to have me at that point. Not that I was bad. I just didn't have the skill set. Mm-hmm. I didn't have what it took. And like you said, at a deficit, I may have known how to make money. Making money and success has nothing to do with your success in a relationship. I think we be equating the two. Like, I'm going to get with this person because they successful. No. Where's your mind? Where's your heart? Where's your synergy? Where's your God chemistry? Not there's two types of chemistry. There's sexual chemistry, and then there's chemistry that that I'm compatible. This person is going the same place I want to go, or at least they're in support of it, or you don't get in my way. You don't always have to be going in the same direction, but you're strong enough for me to go over there. That's being yoked.
Yeah, I saw I think it was a TikTok, but it talked about when the oxen were yoked together. Mm-hmm. So if I'm weak on my right side, I don't need somebody who's also weak on their right side.
That's a fact.
Where I am weak, you have to be strong, and vice versa, so that we are evenly yoked. You holding up your side, I'm holding up my side. Now, what that looks like is different for everybody. So when you out here in the world seeking a mate, you know that, you're not good with finances. You don't need to then date the guy who you see at the check cashing place.
You don't.
That's not the guy for you. If you in line at the check cashing place, do not date the guy.
Don't make that connection. Y'all both gonna be in debt. Yeah. Y'all credit both gonna be $450. That's compatibility. Sometimes somebody strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. But you better know them.
Say, we feel like we got a lot in common.
Y'all do failure. 100%. That's what you got in common. Those are those other illusionary ties that you think are real, that are soul ties. Those are things that you connect. Sometimes your evil is trying to connect to, meaning your evil is just adverse to God. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're always doing something wrong. It's just the absence of God. So therefore, you're not operating in your purpose. Anything outside of your purpose is evil. It's something. It's not. You're susceptible. You're in a reprobate situation. So you're in a state of being. So yeah. So sometimes that part of me be looking at something and I can end up choosing the wrong. Without guidance, you will choose the wrong thing. Yeah. Without that's what I'm saying. That I couldn't stop me. That was my Christ moment throughout my life. Not having my father, all of those things, those sacrifices I talked about, going through all of those things. This right here being an example. Going through a divorce in this generation, going through all of it, having all of the feelings, all of the unfair, all of the emotions as a man I did not want to feel, all of the feelings of failure, pride, ego, all of those things was just like, come on, bro, come on, God. I said I want to be great, but I don't want all this. You know what I mean? And I had to go through all of that to be here now. Yeah. And I think this is where we start to have those serious conversations that will help our generation be a better example than our previous. And then it's not their, let me say this, I'm not saying it's their fault because they were at a deficit too. You see what I'm saying? Every generation will always be working at a deficit. That's God ways collectively to keep us all humble, that we'll always be in need. And that's a good thing because you need a perspective. You need to always need something and need somebody. That's the whole point of all us being here. Yeah. I needed you tonight for this conversation. I needed Tim for the cameras. And we all collectively became something. We all became and had a great show, you know, and started a great conversation. But I think we're going to ask them next time. Yeah. And done. Yeah. And y'all going to get to see the chat. Y'all going to get to see the people that I love most in my life, that I talk to every day, that give me you guys are, and I'll say this before I go, you guys, the chat, Theo, Zim, Don, and Ebony, others, you're sitting right here. I would not have made it to the side without y'all. And it was more so not so much of what you said, but you were just always there. That's love too.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, I think we was talking about this off the camera, sometimes you have to be the extra in the movie and not the main character. Are you okay with that? Sometimes I can't tell you all my problems. Sometimes it ain't words. Sometimes it was just you existing there. I knew y'all existed there every day. I knew it. The conversations I wouldn't join in on, but I would be a part of. That's what love is. That's what marriage is. See, marriage is an expanded, it's so much. We've created a marriage in that chat where we are all linked together for life, where we hold a responsibility to each other. That chat represents, it represents enormity in my life. And because of you guys, outside of my mom and them, that's eternal love. I got y'all are the closest to me, and I would not have made it. I probably would have crashed out. But I didn't crash out, again, not because of what you said. I'm talking to all the advice givers out there. But what you did by just being there. Yeah. And that was enough. That was love to me. And I could not thank you guys enough for that, man. And because I wouldn't be here. And you didn't say anything. And on top of that, I didn't want to let y'all down. So getting better, y'all were a part of God showing me, come on, Steve, they look to you. They see you as something. And it's tough when you feel like you're a leader and you're letting people down. When people expect things out of you, that helped me get up. Because after a while, there was no more talking. Y'all said, Steve, you got to do it on your own, basically. You didn't want to turn your back. You didn't want to, you wanted to probably take all the pain away from me. But that's just not how it works. When God, sometimes when God gets you in that room by yourself, your parents get you in there and your brother, no, that's how it is. Sometimes the chastising is always for your good. And that's what happened to me. It was growth, chastising, and more than a few things was happening at one time. And that's how life works sometimes. And I believe because of that, God has led me to this conversation of our generation now with marriage, and I want to continue to have it. I want to have married couples here. I want to have people, and I want to just have a segment where we deal with marriage in a way that, because now even from a religious standpoint, Ebony, people are moving away from that. Whether right, wrong, or indifferent, people have a secular view. How do you have that conversation? Everybody ain't the same anymore. People grew up in different households. How do you communicate with people now? We're not our parents anymore. Yeah. It was a real separation when it came to certain things like that. There was a real divide, but we're in a social media era now. So Ebony, you meet all type of people that you're interested in. You think oh, that man fine right there. He look good. He could be African and Muslim. You know what I mean? So it's just now we're just in a world where we're in a melting pot with everybody. I can say this woman look good and she's a Buddhist. You know what I mean? It's just now we're communicating with different people who we don't know anymore because we're not announcing our religion when you see people. Yeah. You work with people at the bank that you don't know what they are anymore. Yeah. We grew up, a lot of us grew up in small pockets. Some people grew up in small towns, and we were just right. The proximity, you just dealt with the person that was right there. That is no longer the case. Because your mama probably wouldn't have married your dad if she had options in here, and vice versa. The more you have options, I think we got too many options now. Yeah, I think we got a buffet now.
I think it's different for men and women in that regard, though. Y'all the ones to be looking for or looking at the buffet. Women not like that so much.
I think it's time to end this conversation till Zim get here, so you can be outnumbered. But anyway, I love the chat. That whole diatribe I just went on, I want to continue to have this conversation. Ebony, thank you for coming. This is now every time I do this now, it feeling like a conversation in our room now. I didn't even realize the cameras was here until I was getting ready to say we got to go because we wanted to keep it at about an hour so people would be a watchable show. And I think it was a great conversation. So we'll have it next week. And hopefully Zim come up and we can get done on the show and we can just, I want to show the world the magic that exists on the chat. And I've been saying it for years, man. We need people. I wish they can hear our conversations. Yeah. And I think now we've found a synergy and a respect and a reverence. We've seen each other get married. We've seen people die. We've seen babies be born. We've just created a bond for life. And I encourage everybody out there, take your friendship serious, man. Take those relationships that are just non-negotiable and pour into them, because that's how you change the world. I know we're in a political atmosphere where it's about to get dicey. I think it's a lot of friction already starting to come up. Yeah. You've seen a young lady, Sonia Massey, get shot. Now there's emotions high on that. The Joe Biden thing, the Trump thing. I mean, it's like a pile of Kamala. Yeah, so it's all of that stuff represents chaos now. Because no matter where you sit at, no matter what you think, we still work beside each other every day. So it's important now that you stay close to your family. That's why I want to make sure we're locked in on our marriages, our relationships, and the people we love. Because when the world becomes chaotic, you're going to want to stand close to G-Body, Aaron. That's the same person what I'm talking about. But G-Body, AJ, that's AJ, Aaron. That's it, right? Aaron, two Aarons, yeah. Aaron, and KJ. You know what I mean? So that is, that's the goal. That's the ministry part of the Deep Surface experience is this. I think, I'm not a church guy, but I do. God is still the center of my life. And I think.
And churches is not the building.
It's not the building. It's the called out ones, actually. Mm-hmm. Ecclesia is the called out ones. And I think now things are looking different for us now. Atmospheres look different now. The way we talk about God looks different now. The way we talk about family looks different now. Our kids are not like us. We're going to talk about that soon when we come back, because our kids are a major component. How do we parent? That's a major component now. Yeah. And having an honest conversation about that, because I ain't that good. I'm a decent parent. I don't know.
I think
I'm
you're
decent.
A great dad. And if we do a comparison, I think you're a great dad.
I'm giving great effort.
Yeah.
I'm giving great effort right now.
And that's all you can do.
Yeah, and that's true. That's all I can do. And I've given myself grace. I was hard on myself, but I want to be a great
intentional effort.
Yeah, I want to give intentional effort. I want to be intentional. That's another thing we'll talk about with women. But that I want to be intentional with my children, with giving them a great life and paying attention to my children. Yep. I want to pay attention. I don't want to say go sit down. I want to talk to them. They're human beings.
Sometimes you want to say go sit down now.
All the time I want to say that. But I'm trying to elevate is what I'm trying to say. Because I have to fight against my nature to get the hell out of my face. Y'all getting on my goddamn nerves. That's what I really be saying in my head. Get these kids away from me. I don't know what I was thinking. That's what I be really thinking. 100%. But what the God part of me.
Yes.
Because my flesh and my spirit is constantly warring. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Sometimes the flesh wins.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I go in the room and say, I shut the door and say, get out my face. I don't care if you're crying low. Get out my face. And sometimes you have to do that as a parent because these kids will drive you crazy. The request is unbelievable. The amount of bouginess in kids who don't do nothing but weigh us down, if we're being honest. Because we be talking about that little, but man, you got to pick up AJ. He going to want what he want, when he want it, how he want it. But AJ run you though, but we ain't going to go on all that.
But I'll say,
but go ahead.
The last thing I'll say is tradition is okay and contemporary is okay.
It is.
I think there are elements of tradition, whether that be church, whether that be marriage, whether that be family, that are paramount. They're foundational. But then there's elements of contemporary, moving with the times, moving with the generation, that are also just as pivotal and can be as foundational, and you have to merge the two in a way that works for you. Yeah,
and I think both sides got to get to the traditional and the untraditional have to either come to the table, have a collective thought about, because we're going to have to merge it. Mm-hmm. Because what we don't want, I don't want what could happen to the traditional church is what happened to Sears. It's what happened to Roses. Blockbuster. I never thought Blockbuster was going anywhere.
I love Blockbuster. I love going there looking for a movie. I kind of miss it low key.
It does. It was, man, listen, having a girl, bringing a movie, man, come on, bruh.
I would go to a Blockbuster right now.
I would go through a drive-up movie too.
Yeah.
I would 100% go through a drive-through. But I don't want that to, because there's still significance. But there is a reality of change before you have to. Mm-hmm. The great CEO Jack Welch said, you have to change before you have to. Because if you're forced to change, then what ends up happening, the entire infrastructure breaks down. But if you merge, then you combine what's here and what's here to continue to build the kingdom. And I think that's another pervasive conversation that me, you, and Zim can have too as well, that we always have, and we can just have it with the world. So listen, guys, we will have part 2 coming to you soon. We'll keep having this series, and I love it, man. It's just continuous improvement. That's what Kaizen, that's what the organization is about, continuous improvement. So y'all subscribe to us on the Deep Surface Experience on YouTube and on Instagram. We out. Thank you.